Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk to you about a very important subject, and that is the importance of da'wah within the people that we know. As we are aware, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had addressed this ummah with a very important title, and that is khair ummah. We are the best of nations. And the reason for that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, is ukhrijat lin-nas. This ummah has been sent for the benefit of mankind, and this ummah ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You order people to do good, you forbid them from evil, and you have iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is basically the reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared that this is the best of nations. And in addition to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another verse of the Quran, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Whose words can be better than that person who calls people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he himself practices what he preaches, he does good, and he declares proudly that I am from amongst the Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, time and again, He talks about the responsibility of giving da'wah to people, calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is not specifically for the non-Muslims. Many people think that da'wah is for the non-Muslims only, but the reality is that Muslims and non-Muslims alike, they are the ones who can be the recipients of da'wah. We can give them da'wah. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in another verse of the Quran, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind each other, because the reminder is beneficial for the people of Iman. So keeping all of these points in mind, we have to understand that it's our responsibility as Muslims to keep on reminding each other to come to the Masjid as much as possible, and to do good deeds as much as possible. And remember, when you call somebody towards good, when you call somebody towards the Masjid, and that person becomes a better person, he becomes a better practicing Muslim, he starts inviting other people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that will be in your hasanat, inshallah. You'll be rewarded for it. And if a person then becomes such a person that he invites other people and they become Muslims, just think of all of the reward that you're going to be getting. That reward will be multiplied many times over for you, and you will on the Day of Judgment see so many hajjs and so many umrahs and so many people praying, and you will think that I never did all of these things. How did this come into my book of deeds? And the answer will be given that because you invited one person, that person called another person, that person called another person, and that resulted in all of these good deeds coming into your book of good deeds. So we can understand from this how powerful this work of da'wah is, how powerful it is to call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember that the only place really nowadays where a person can remind himself of the akhirah is to come to the Masjid. I mean, there are so many powerful forces outside trying to invite us to so many different places in terms of evil, in terms of disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of being negligent of our obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Masjid is a pure place in which the malaika, they gather, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes place, and a person can be reminded about the purpose of his life and the purpose of his existence. And each one of us should make a target. We should make a target. At the very least, one should try to make an effort to come for one salat a day to the Masjid. At least one salat. And when we are inviting other people towards the Masjid, we should keep this target in mind. We should not impose 5 salats a day in the Masjid, because that is something that would seem impossible for anybody, especially if a person is weak of faith and he doesn't want to take something of something which he regards as a burden upon himself. If you put 5 salats on him, he's going to say it's impossible. But if you tell the person, come for 1 salat a day, then that is something to build upon. So he'll start with 1 salat, and then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the tawfiq, he will start with a 2nd salat, and the time might come where he might be praying 5 salats a day in the Masjid, and inshallah you'll be getting the reward for it. And all it takes, my dear brothers and sisters, is a phone call, a knock on somebody's door, and inviting somebody for coffee, in taking somebody to the coffee shop for donuts or something, and then just telling them, hey, let's go to the masjid, there's a program going on, there's a speech going on, let's go, and then we'll even have dinner afterwards, or something like that. Just imagine this small effort on your part can result in so many dividends for yourself and so many hasanat for yourself. That's how powerful this is. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me and you the tawfiq to understand and practice what I've said. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.